As the old saying goes, a week is a long time if you're a Spurs fan. Miserable defeat to Villa, Vicario performing miracles in Monaco to save us from a thrashing, and the solid, if unspectacular, dismantling of Everton on Sunday. And I'm going to say it, double pivot of Polinia and Bentancur started all three games. So what do we conclude about this much maligned partnership? We became the first team to win at the Hill Dickinson Stadium, which was quite the feather in our cap. Should be a trophy for that, I think. There was more VAR chaos. Van de Ven played like two men, maybe three. And of course, Thomas Frank got pelters as usual because despite being third and well placed in the other competitions, we don't yet play like peak Real Madrid. Julie has got a beef with snoods. I don't know. I'll be moaning about goal celebrations. We'll talk about Pat Mate Sarr and whatever else tickles our fancy. Welcome to your weekly group therapy session. It's Nice One Cyril.
Nice one, Cyril.
So with me today we have Dame Julie Welch as ever, and of course cheerful Kevin Acott and throat-clearing Hollywood superstar Lee Brown. Now then, Monaco, it was kind of a 0-0 slaughter, wasn't it? Lee, what did you make of that performance?
It was terrible, but I think we're allowed a terrible performance away from home and still get a result. Isn't that what they used to call years ago, just grinding it out and getting over the line? It really wasn't a great performance at all. Second half was woeful. There were some, concerns, but having said that, for some reason, I think because Monaco had a few players missing, everyone thought this could well be a formality for us because we had the stronger outfit. Monaco are no mugs, and I don't think they've lost at all at their stadium for a long time now, especially in this competition. We went there. It was not spectacular, as you kind of suggested, but we got a point, and a point away from home is decent in the Champions League. That's just my opinion.
Kev, there wasn't a lot of attacking intent or ability on display from our boys. It was a bit of a, kind of put the helmets on and hope for the best, just let the flak keep coming at us, which is a bit depressing because, I agree with Lee, they are a pretty formidable side, Monaco, but they're not the best side in the world, and they had a lot of people injured. No Dyer, no Pogba, and a new manager. Were you disappointed as I was?
I was disappointed because I think there's a difference between playing defensively, because that's probably the sensible thing to do, and playing without absolutely any drive or any sort of attacking spirit at all. And in that match, there was no attacking spirit. And the forwards were all poor. Midfield was poor. And the person we haven't mentioned, and I think this is because we've been going on about how good he is as a goalkeeper really for the last few weeks, is Vicario. Without Vicario, no, we'd have been absolutely hammered. It was, I agree with Lee, it was an awful performance. And I think Frank got it wrong. Because there's a way of containing a good team like Monaco, like I said, without just being so dreary and so just beckoning the opposition on. We were lucky, really lucky.
We were. I mean, I agree with you. I think, the old cliche is the best form of defence is attack, but, they were pinning us back. It was difficult. We defended fairly stoutly. But Julie, looking abashed from where I'm sitting, because you've been giving Mr. Flappy, I'm going to call him Mr. Vicario this week. You've been giving him a bit of a bashing. Now, for my part, I've only ever praised him as the best goalkeeper in the world, as has Kevin. But you've been giving him some flack. He made 9 saves against Monaco, about 5 of which were world class. What have you got to say for yourself now?
He was really, really good. What can I say? All I will say is that, firstly, my big disappointment was that Eric Dyer didn't play because, as you know, he is my granny crush. And so that sort of set the mood for me, leaving aside the fact that Vic had a worldie. And as I say, I'd take it all back about, calling him Mr. Flappy and all that sort of stuff. I thought it was really solid performance. I mean, fantastic. Just ground out a 0-0 draw in the Champions League. Having watched so much shit football last season, I was just really grateful. That said, I kept sort of leaving the room to make a cup of tea and things like that because it was really, really boring. But I'm happy to be bored. I can see now why people went to support Arsenal when George Graham was their manager. They traded being bored for being successful. And although it wasn't, the greatest success, we didn't sort of slam them 3-0 or anything like that. We didn't lose. We ground out the draw. What's not to like, really? Solid.
We're on up to 5 points, unbeaten in the Champions League, and we've still only lost 2 matches this season. Do you agree with Julie's assessment there? Have you got, because you seem quite positive about the result, the performance, a bit more so than me and possibly Kevin?
Yeah, I suppose I'm sanguine about it. It's like we got the job done. It wasn't spectacular. It could have gone horribly wrong, as we said, and it wasn't, particularly a nice game to watch. But I just wanted to sort of echo what Julie was saying, in that I've also been a bit of a critic of Vicario. His shot stopping is next, the second to none. He really, really is. I mean, some of those saves he pulled off, as Kev rightly pointed out, massively kept us in it. It could have been, an embarrassing score otherwise, but he still does flap. And I think he punches too much. And there are still things about his game that I do worry about. But when we've been peppered with shots, he is that keeper who has incredible reflexes. So it's really difficult, isn't it? It's difficult to really assess him in the round because there are weaknesses in his game, but he does also save us a lot as well. So I suppose I'm sort of in a roundabout way eating humble pie on him for the last 2 games because he's really saved our skin. But he does need to improve his game overall still, I think.
Kev, it is an issue, isn't it? We've talked about Vicario before. I mean, he was extraordinary in his ability to make those saves. I mean, when you think the ball's gone, you're just waiting for it to ripple the net. And suddenly he's there with a reaction save. It's something to behold. I actually felt that he'd lost a bit of that as well in the earlier part of the season. I mean, against Villa, I felt he was a bit cement-footed for both of those goals. I'm not saying he should have stopped them, but he seemed to me that he was out of position and he didn't really get across to either of those goals. I don't know. We've talked about it before, but is he the guy? Is he going to be the guy in goal for a team that has pretensions to finish in the top 4, or should we be thinking about something in January, notwithstanding these fantastic performances, and he was pretty good against Everton, we'll talk about that. Is he the long-term future for a club with ambition?
No. I mean, I don't think so. Would he get in the Arsenal team, the City team, Chelsea team, Liverpool team? No, I don't think he would. It's really difficult because when you said about, should we replace him in January, I did think no, we shouldn't. And I know I'm sort of contradicting myself, but I think part of a very gradual rebuild is another keeper. He's okay for this season. His shot stopping is great and will win us some points, and that's great. But is he good enough overall? No.
I mean, after performances like those 2, it feels a bit churlish to suggest that we should be getting rid of him. But the overall sense I get is of a slightly sort of skitty performer, and you're going to get these great saves, but you're also going to get the flapping. Now, I do want to come on to that with the Everton match because he was so well protected by our central defenders and others that it became less of an issue. But it's still an issue. Julie, I tell you what, I know you probably want to talk a bit more about Mr. Flappy, but I just wanted to talk about the rest of the team selection. It was interesting, wasn't it? Against Monaco, I put a message out on our Nice One Cyril WhatsApp group to say, where's the left back? Spence was benched. And it turned out to be Archie. We thought it might be Van der Ven. What did you make of Archie's performance?
Hard to say, really. I mean, I always think Archie's wonderful. I'm probably not the best judge because I find it very hard to criticise him. I mean, I'm going to throw this back to the rest of you, the experts. I think I would like to see Archie playing more, and I think that will sort of raise him to higher levels than he gets at the moment. I certainly wouldn't want to overpraise him, and I wouldn't want to overcondemn him. That sounds really limp, doesn't it? Sorry about that.
Well, let me throw it at Lee. I think for me, Archie is, you know me, I don't like cliches, other than, all the time. But he's a Rolls Royce player for me. Sorry about that. He looks so cool and comfortable, and like he's got the game covered. He understands the game. He's only 19, I think, and he just seems serene and he's good on the ball. He's physical. He's intelligent, and he was very good against Monaco, certainly in the first half. What's your take on our boy Archie?
I do think he's got an enormous, if I may sort of frame him within the context of the whole squad. So I do think that we have got actually quite a good squad overall, and he's certainly one of the brightest prospects within that, same as Bergvall, etc., and Sarr. But going back to kind of Kev's point, we are at a point where if we are serious about being challengers and want to show that kind of ambition, everything now must be about incremental or marginal gains. So, yeah, you might look at a player and go, do you know what? They're really good. Should we be upgrading? Teams like Man City and Liverpool, etc., even dare I say them down the road, they do. They just do. They just go out and say, well, this player is 10% better. Let's just go and get them. Doesn't matter if we've got someone already good in that position. Now, Archie Gray, going back to him, falls within that sort of, if you like, pantheon of players who really could be superb in the future. But at the moment, I think he has lots of potential, but maybe not quite at the elite position to take us to where we want to get to yet.
It's a difficult one, isn't it, Kev? I mean, you want to play your young stars because how else are they going to get good? How else are they going to gather the experience necessary to become the players we think they can be? But at the same time, you want to win matches. So, and we've got trophies to win with loads of them. So, I mean, for me, Bergvall against Monaco was a little bit headless chicken. I don't like cliches, by the way, right? But he was a bit headless chicken. But then I think he wasn't in, the position we expect him to play. And he was almost an auxiliary kind of inside forward. And I'm not surprised he looked a bit out of sorts. But again, he took the risk, Frank, of sticking those two kids in. I want to see that. I want to see our kids and see how they, match up against good sides.
No, I mean, I think if I'm honest, neither Bergvall nor Archie completely 100% convinced me that they're going to be great. But that doesn't mean that I think they're overrated. It's because we haven't seen enough, really. Obviously, we've seen a lot more of Bergvall, really, in his correct position. They're still finding their way, both of them, and potentially they could both be great, or potentially they could just sort of fade a bit. I think this season will hopefully tell us about both. I would certainly be happier starting with Bergvall just as a norm, really, because I think he's shown enough to do that, and the more he gets, the better he'll become, hopefully. I wouldn't routinely start with Archie at the moment. I think, maybe Carabao Cup, maybe on Wednesday, those kind of matches, then he can come in. He did such a great job last year, but he did a great job under immense pressure in the wrong position. I don't think we know how good he is yet, and I think we've got to find out gradually. I think we will find out gradually.
My feeling is that both of them have kind of tailed off a bit. I don't know if anybody else gets that impression.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm so careful about sort of talking about both of them. Bergvall in particular hasn't really been that impressive the last couple of outings, something like that. Maybe, as you said, maybe they're not going to be as good as we hoped. I just haven't been as impressed this season as I was last season when we were really up against it and they saved the day a lot of the time. But who knows? There are still too many players in the squad who are sort of young hopefuls who we don't quite know where they're going to end up. When in the early Kane years, you just knew that there were 2 or 3 in the squad who were going to make it, and you knew pretty quickly. But this doesn't seem to quite be the case this time. And having slagged off Mr. Flappy for weeks, you should no doubt take no notice whatsoever of what I'm saying.
Well, I don't normally, to be honest with you, but so people do. People rate your opinion very highly. So there we are. Let's let's move on to the a V sign from the Dame herself, and I think I earned that one as it happens. Let's move on to Bentancur and Palhinha. This is the famous double pivot. It seems to me that Frank is pretty much sold on them as the kind of the base of operations for Spurs. And sometimes they're really good, sometimes they're shit. It almost seemed to start with Man City, where we were very good with those two, kind of shoring everything up. Subsequently, there's been a sense, certainly I've been critical, saying, perhaps certainly home games, we ought to be a little bit more creative and maybe play one of them. Lee, there was a bit of film of Thomas Frank saying he wants to see, he thinks that no great team can possibly survive without physicality and aggressivity, okay, which we shouldn't laugh, because even though I speak fluent Danish, his English is not bad. It's okay. I just wonder, well, all managers have blind spots. I can't remember who it was kept playing Emerson Royal. Was that? I can't remember. Anyway, but the point is, all managers have blind spots in the eyes of the fans, and I don't know whether this is a blind spot. Is he kind of is it a bit of fuck you stubbornness? Fans don't love it, or is it genuinely this is the way that we set up because it gives us the base from which to express ourselves?
I genuinely, obviously, don't have the answer, but
what's the point of view then? What are you doing on the show?
Well, that's been said many a time, but you won't be the first or the last. But basically, what I'm trying to sort of hint at is that perhaps what he's trying to do is get the sort of firm structure in place first, and then when we get some of the creative players back, perhaps we can be a bit more expressive then. That's theory 1. Theory 2 is, he's a stubborn bastard and he should change it and do something else at home, because away from home, we're smashing it up. We're top of the league away from home, and it works perfectly there, because the thing is, teams don't tend to play low block against us at home. We can also, they tend to come at us, so we can use that kind of toughness and resilience of that sort of double pivot to our advantage. At home, they tend to play that low block. What I did notice recently, though, I think part of the thing that he's trying to do with all these set pieces, which have been brilliant recently, by the way, is to try and counteract that low block, to try and score, because we don't seem to have, as we said before, the ability to pass wind in that midfield, do we? And we can't do enough there creatively at the moment. So does that answer your question, or have I just chatted crap for 5 minutes? I don't know.
To be honest with you, I zoned out halfway through that, Lee. I'm sure it was very erudite and interesting. Look, no, it was great. Listen, a very valid point, or points well made. Let's just move on to getting down to brass tacks with the Everton match. Kev, match day 9, I think we can safely say. We gave them an absolute clobbering, didn't we? First half, we looked quite, actually, for the first time for a while, we looked quite cogent and cohesive, and like we actually knew that, our shirts were the ones that we should be passing to. Second half, after the second goal, looked a bit back to the wall, but fairly comfortable. What was your...
Yeah, I didn't feel my usual horrific tension, actually, when we were 2 up. I genuinely thought they're not going to get back into this. We were the better team. I didn't like particularly the style of play, but we were comfortably the better team. I don't think 3-0 really flattered us, actually. Everton were poor. So, it's always tricky, isn't it? How much is about Everton being poor? How much was about us doing well? I think we did what Frank wanted us to do as a team and did it well. A little bit of good fortune. But yeah, it didn't feel tense to me. I thought I was fairly sure we were going to win this all the way through. And that's such an unusual feeling. It's nice. I want to celebrate.
I felt that as absolutely. I mean, I felt that as well, that Everton were kind of, knocking on our door, but we looked incredibly kind of solid. We were heading away corners that were coming in dangerously. Julie, just before, because I know you want to talk about Kevin Danso, because he was brilliant in my view against Everton. Let's just have a little cast our critical minds over the VAR decision, because I think that was quite pivotal. We'd just gone ahead, we were well on top, and then we conceded a goal that was subsequently disallowed. Now, as you know, VAR is always against Spurs, isn't it? Always goes against us, except when it goes for us. What was your take on that decision?
It was foul play, in my opinion. And you will never hear me say anything against VAR. It's a great invention. Yeah, that's the way about it. If it had been against us, if we'd been in that position, I would have been so pissed off. I will say that. But, hey, I'm not Everton. I don't care. Tough.
That's the attitude I like to hear. Really, you sent me a stat the other day, Kevin Danso, which was fairly extraordinary against Everton.
Yeah, it was something like he made 18 headed clearances, which I'm sure actually has a lot to do with the fact that Vicario was playing with much greater confidence and much less flapping. It was something like the most clearances for Spurs, headed clearances since Jan Vertonghen, something like, 1908 or something like that, which prompts everybody to ask, I hope, is he our new Super Jan? And I think Kevin Danso is an absolute find. It was his namesake, Kevin Acott, who pointed out, I think, that the reason Kevin Danso speaks such fluent English, although he's an Austrian by birth and was brought from Lens, how do you pronounce that? I don't know. Anyway, he was raised in Milton Keynes. Now, there's got to be a chant in that somewhere, but I think he's fantastic. And it prompted me to wonder whether, do we play better without Romero? Is it more relaxed without, or should it be Danso and Mickey at the back from that on?
He was raised in Milton Keynes and still speaks perfect English, so that's something. Lee, tell me, it's a good question that Julie raises there about our centre backs. I mean, Van der Ven is just spectacular. He's even top scorer, and he's a brilliant defender. He's fast as fuck. He's got it all. Romero, we know, is this classy, World Cup winner, top performer. But Danso, I don't know whether we could say he's making himself indispensable. Is he pushing to be a starter?
No. That's no slight on Danso, because I agree. I think he's been absolutely brilliant addition. I think he's the perfect person to come in on either side if we're missing someone, but I still would have Romero and Van der Ven every time. I do think that they have a really good understanding. Romero just has something else as well, which he's able to break, and he can be that person who can break the lines as well for us. So I think overall, on balance, I still would have Romero. But, what a lovely, speaking in the last maybe 15 years, we haven't had a player as good as that who can step in and you'd feel completely comfortable with. It's a nice position to be in, and a position that we should be in from now on. That's the sort of caliber of player that we should be adding if we are serious about making a push for honours.
I agree with that completely. You talked about the lack of inspiration further up, although I think we passed the ball better against Everton. We looked a bit more fluid. Simmons struggled in a typical Premier League game. He struggled a bit, and we didn't get a lot from our front men. Quite like Muani, but what's your take on what was going on further up the pitch?
I thought this was Simmons' best game, which it obviously doesn't necessarily say very much, but I think he really improved. I think he started poorly, and then had half hour or so where it felt like he was really starting to click, starting to connect with the rest of the team. I was disappointed, as he obviously was, when he was brought off, because it felt like he was just starting to gain that sort of confidence, and it was a real shame. So I think, he's getting I don't know, just he's getting slagged off constantly by good old Gary from Chelmsford, and he needs a chance. I think he just showed little bits of what he can do against Everton, and I thought that was great. Muani, again, didn't have much of an opportunity, really. I thought he looked okay, and I think there's potential with both of them. Richarlison, we've talked about him before. I just feel it just makes me feel sad. It makes me feel sad that I said his name and everyone grinned then, and every Spurs fan would grin when you say Richarlison. It's such a shame, but I think he needs to go.
He's got to go. But I noticed today, actually, I saw a little tweet and it said, someone's in for Richarlison in the January window. And I just thought, yes, come on, do it. And I think that's kind of where we all are, isn't it? I mean, his header for Sarr to score was quite a subtle and clever pass, but overall, he's not good enough, is he?
Well, I just don't think he fits in, and he never really has. He's scored some fantastic goals, not always for Spurs, and I think he's so likeable. Just, the night we won the Europa League, when he was banging the drum with the crowd afterwards, I just thought, what a guy. He misses sitters. He doesn't like I say, he doesn't really fit. I don't know. There must be a club somewhere where he's absolutely perfect, but I don't think Spurs has ever been it, although he has sort of played a valuable part. That's my obituary for Richarlison. I really like him. He makes me laugh. I think he's fabulous. He's so entertaining. He just misses too much. It's sort of frustrating. Because, as I say, I like him so much. I've always wanted him to score wonderful goals, but he's never been quite right, has he? While I'm wanging on, can I carry on, O Master?
Wang on. You were going to wang on, then you stopped wanging. What happened?
Well, because you said, I thought you were going to say something, Simon. Can I just sort of, before I shut up and just sink away, can I just sort of say that I think Mickey van de Ven is God. I think he is the most wonderful player. And I think that, I used to have nightmares that about Harry Kane's ankles. He was always going to be injured and stuff like that. And my more recent sort of nightmare was that Ramiro was going to leave. He was going to go to Real. He was going to go to Atleti, somewhere like that. But I was dragging myself back from Waitrose this morning, as one does, and I suddenly thought, Mickey Van is so bloody good. He is fantastic. He's been, temporary captain so well. He is great at both ends of the pitch. Basically, he scored those goals against Everton. And I thought, Virgil van Dijk is knocking on a bit now. He's not what he was. Those bastards, Liverpool, they're going to come in for Mickey van de Ven, aren't they? So that is my nightmare.
Nauseating prospect, that, isn't it? That he could be wooed away. He is remarkable. And I think, as I think we said in an earlier pod in this series, that he seems to have come on this season, taken on more responsibility. He just looks more mature and more in charge, and I love the look of him. I do need to talk, Lee, about Maté Sarr. Now, he looked quite forlorn, didn't he, when he came on, and even when he scored, he looked unhappy. I read somewhere that he's mourning the death of a young Senegalese footballer who was kidnapped and killed, rather than him being pissed off at not getting chances under Frank. But the fact remains that he's not getting chances now. He started the season really well, and now he's getting the odd 5 minutes, still showing what he's worth to the team, but clearly not in the sort of first 11. What's your take?
I really think he's a tremendous player and does need more minutes. I wonder, because of the African nations coming up, whether there is some sort of factoring in of that, because we're going to lose him for a while, and I suppose Senegal will probably get to the final. That means we could be missing for 2 months. So we're starting to sort of plan around that. I don't know, but yeah, obviously the Twitterati out there were thinking that, he was just moaning and he was really unhappy. But as it turns out, as you just pointed out, he lost someone and he was quite moved by that situation. But yeah, I mean, he really is such a good player. He brings so much to this team. I think he needs to play more. He's got a great quality, and we're going to have a lot of matches coming up. So perhaps, maybe if we're being generous, he's been managed through that and will be used more coming up.
I think the African nations is a couple of months away, isn't it? Still, so it would seem if we're preparing for life without Pap, it's a bit early to be doing that, and a bit early to be we're wasting his talent. Because I agree with you. I mean, he's such a gifted and intelligent player, and again, another player who's come on a bit this season, or at least he had, when we saw the first few matches of the season, scoring and creating and everywhere, tackling. It seems to me it's not a player you should be pissing around too much. Wouldn't want to lose him. So let's move on. Kev, I don't know if you know, here's a stat for you. Thomas Frank in 2025 has amassed 17 points in the Premier League, and in the whole of his tenure in 2025, amassed 14 points. And I keep saying this, it's very easy to be critical of Thomas Frank. I'm sorry to come back to this, but it's slightly getting on my tits that, Gary of Harlow and his light are so critical. There was a guy who was doing a bit to camera on my Twitter feed today saying, I know we won, but fuck me, we were shit. And I thought, well, in the days when we were, losing every week, what do you want? What is it you're after? So, I mean, what are you happy with this slightly prosaic, workmanlike tactical approach at the moment? Or, are you gagging for a bit more flair, but, taking the risk that we're going to lose more?
I don't know. I don't particularly like, from a purist point of view, the way we're playing at the moment. I don't like the sort of reliance on set pieces, trying to do an Arsenal. The idea of us doing an Arsenal, is never something I want really in my life. But it's far too early to criticise him. And it's almost impossible to compare him with, I've seen there's been comparisons with Pochettino as well, and Pochettino's start. And it's just totally different sort of culture, different climate. Football's different actually now than it was even in Pochettino's time with us. So for me, I still feel I hope this isn't the future of how we're gonna play. I hope it's a step towards a more expansive, more sort of attacking way of playing. But I'm all right with Frank. If you offered us absolutely anyone else at the moment, no. Let's just give him more time. And
Frank in, and I'm with you on. Yeah.
Just wanted to sort of chime in. I don't know whether it's kind of myth busting or not, but actual fact, we have scored up there in the top 2 or 3 in terms of outfield goals, and also I think we're only second to Arsenal in terms of like a goal difference. So we have been scoring a lot of goals. In fact, also on top of that, Van der Ven has scored 5 goals and we're only in October. And so therefore, I do think that there perhaps is a misconception that it is completely dour. And whilst I do agree with Kev in that I would like to see us be a bit more creative overall, I also agree with Kev that the way that teams are playing in the Premier League has also changed a lot this year. It does feel a little bit old school, actually, doesn't it? So yeah, I am positive about where we're heading and what he's doing, and I think we're less than 10 matches into his tenure. We really aren't in a position to be throwing the guy under the bus, as I've seen some do on Twitter and etc. Even some high-profile podcasters have already sort of said, "Well, I'm just asking the question," but in actual fact, we shouldn't be just asking that question right now.
Okay, but can I just say, don't listen to other podcasts. Just focus on this one. Okay, so you've got to know which side your bread is buttered, Lee. With all due respect.
Yes,
moving on.
Yes. No, just their tweets.
Lee, you had a point to make there.
Yeah, I think that Thomas Frank is actually, he's forced to tread water at the moment. Don't you agree? I mean, significant injuries, no proper striker, and, whether Solanke ever comes back, I don't know. I think he's doing the best he can under the circumstances with a squad which he inherited, which wasn't built for him. He's still got the remains of Conte's squad, I think. I think he is coping incredibly well with what's going on. Really tragic that Arsenal that the title is Arsenal's to lose, as somebody was talking about today. And it's also a shame that Liverpool and Man City are so shit at the moment. And I think that's made everybody very edgy. People seem to overlook the fact that we are third in the table, even though we are in this situation. I think he has actually done a magnificent job. I can't think of any other manager who could have done better. I really don't.
Couldn't agree more. Let's, because we're running towards the end of the pod. Julie, talk to me about Snoods, because it seems to me, as I understand it, Sean Dyche. I do a good impression of Sean Dyche, by the way. Do you want to hear it?
Yeah, I've been waiting all my life.
He talks like that.
For a man.
Here we go.
Wait
a minute. You're getting into...
Yeah.
You know, I'm trying to do a Sean Dyche impression, and Julie is just crashing across it. And Lee, come on, we're both artists. You know, yeah, it's gone now. I've just lost all impetus.
He's 40 cigars a day, isn't he? Like 40 Havanas.
Yeah. But
yeah.
he you're right there, mate. It's
look, I
don't
was
know what
going to
that
talk
was.
about Snoods, but you just Sean Dyche impressions, none of which are any good, I must say. But I have too much
bloody hell! I'm a
to
professional
give Sean Dyche.
impressionist, for crying out loud. What a liberty. Look,
Sean
Dyche, he's what's he done? He's banned Snoods, hasn't he, Julie? He's banned Snoods. Why is he banned Snoods?
I don't know why he's banned Snoods. I suppose he thinks they're sort of, unmasculine or something like that. I just reminded me, do you gentlemen know what a snood is, or do you have to Google it? Basically,
I've got a snood.
You've got a snood. Bloody hell! I haven't got a snood, and I'm a lady. How many snoods do you have?
Is it not a portmanteau of hood and scarf, isn't it, or something like that? It's basically
that would be a scood. I mean,
yeah. Ignore that.
Anyway,
I don't know where we're going with this. All I want to say is I got 2 free snoods with my some cycling helmets that I bought. And I want to tell you, they're silky. They're very silky. And I sometimes wear them on a cold night going to Spurs. You just, you whack it round your neck while you're cycling. And then when you...
You're like wearing a condom on your head.
No, it's all right. I like a condom on my head. And when I get to the ground, I drag it over the top and I'm all condomed up. It's lovely. Nothing wrong with that.
I've heard that Frank is trying to pretend or tell Richarlison that he's got a snood for him to wrap around his neck, but it's his 2 hands.
Thanks for that intervention. Look, let's move on from snoods, because I want to talk about irritating goal celebrations before we get to Newcastle and Chelsea. Let's talk about irritating goal celebrations. Now, there are 2 that are really pissing me off right now. One is the goal scorer who runs away with his tongue out. Right? He's just poking his tongue out as far as it'll go. And the other one is this, the one where they point to the ground. They point to the turf. And I don't know what that is. I thought it meant I'm not going anywhere. I'm staying here. I play for this club. I love this club until I get transferred and for more money or whatever. But what the fuck is that? And Julie, you've just done the thumb in the mouth thing, right?
Yeah.
The thumb sucking.
Really, really naff.
So puerile and stupid and unoriginal. Kev, what's going on with footballers? I mean, really, it's not acceptable, is it? Why can't they just shake hands and move on?
Well, I was just sitting here thinking, if I were one of them, if I scored a goal for Tottenham, how would I celebrate? And I don't know. I think what I'd do is I'd underplay it deliberately. I'd just sort of nod knowingly at the camera. I'd just sort of suggest that, yeah, I know that was great, but without anything really sort of big and expansive. I think that would be my way of actually doing it. And I think that's the way they should all do it.
And I think that chimes with your personality in many ways. It's understated, just cool and classy. Julie, what would be your goal celebration?
Well, my favourite ever was when Wayne Rooney scored once and he just ran towards the camera and shouted "fuck off." And that would be me.
You do that all the time on the pod, so I can well believe that. Lee, goal celebration, because you're one of the great actors of your generation. So you'd come up with something suitably Thespy.
It's been said. I like just the simple. I like the Alan Shearer one, just one hand in the air and he just runs away. I think we owe all this shenanigans to Romero, where he did the baby thing. Do you remember that? And then after that, everyone came up with bollocks celebrations, didn't they? Sitting down, meditating, and all this kind of crap, and pretending the flag was like a microphone. And Roger Miller, his one was good, wasn't it? Remember, we used to go up to the park and did the little Sambry dance around that. That was a really good. I like
that. Yeah, no, that in fairness, that was well worth the admission money. Look, I tell you what, we're coming towards the end of the show. I said that already, haven't I? So we're even closer towards the end of the show. Let's have a quick chat about Newcastle. Kev, I hate going up to Newcastle. Well, I've never been there, of course, but the Spurs going up to Newcastle, I don't know. It always just feels like we're going to get battered and intimidated. What's your? It's Carabao Cup, isn't it?
Oh, I'm going to be positive. I think we're going to scrape a win, but we're going to win.
Wow.
I don't quite understand Newcastle. I can't quite understand the billions of, human rights abuser money that they've got, and the fact that they haven't really built a great team. They've built a decent team. And I think he's a good, decent manager as well. I think they'll rest a few people, we'll rest a few people, and I think we'll win it.
Okay, I like that. Sorry, I got slightly distracted by my wife coming into my new hutch to say, have you finished? Which makes me think that there is a task awaiting me.
For you.
Julie, I've lost my thread, haven't I? I've lost my thread.
Have you finished?
Newcastle, are we going to beat them? I don't know. Sorry, I've just all gone to hell now.
Let me just say that it is my middle son's birthday today. He is a Newcastle supporter. So, I will give him this match. I will, it means so much to him. But apart from maternal duty, I think Gordon and Voltemade, or however you pronounce it, they're just going to be too much. They're at a much more together stage than we are. I'm not sure that Eddie Howe will play the kids. I think it might, he might sort of go quite strong. I'm not too sanguine. This time last year, I was on the Spurs show and I said, well, I think this year we're going to win the Europa League. And blow me, we did. So all I can say is that this year we're not going to win what I still call the League Cup. But maybe we'll win the FA Cup this year. But we'll worry about that another time. I don't think we're going to do it on Tyneside on Wednesday.
I'll take the FA Cup. Are we going to humiliate ourselves up there, or are we going to do another one of our backs to the wall, gritty defensive performances, Vic making 27 world-class saves and we win it on pens or something?
It's a really hard one to say, but I think that, obviously our record up there isn't great. They may want to retain that cup. They won it last year, didn't they? Our priority, I would think, would be the game on Saturday because we've got Chelsea, and I think that would go down better with the fans. Having won a couple recently, I don't think the pressure is on us, so that might be good for us. I do think we'll rotate. We're going to have to rotate. I think we probably will lose that 2 or 3-1, I'm afraid, but I wouldn't be too gutted. I think fans wouldn't be too gutted if we turn up and beat Chelsea on the weekend.
Well, okay, you've just mentioned Chelsea. Obviously, we always lose to Chelsea home and away. Seems to be our lot in life. We're kind of their Man City to us, aren't they? Kind of just their whipping boys. I don't know. They're not that great this season. They're very iffy. They just lost to Sunderland, was it, at home? Kev, what's your take on this one?
I don't know. Similar, some dodgy human rights abusing money there somewhere. And they haven't created a great team out of it. I think they've bought, as we know, thousands of very expensive players, but they're not looking great. But they do raise their game, to use a cliche, against us. My prediction would be that later on in the season for the return match, we'll have more chance. I think we'll be more together by then. And I think they'll stay where they are. I don't even know where they are, sort of fifth or sixth, or I think they'll stay around that for the whole season, but I think we'll improve. So I'm going to go for a loss on Saturday, but we'll win the return.
Okay, well, that's we'll hold you to that. Julie, thoughts about this fucking Chelsea team who always beat us? What's your take on this match?
I don't know whether to go for insane optimism or the usual pessimism. I think that, I'd accept a 0-0 draw, bring back our Monaco form, even if we could just keep it to 0-0 or 1-1, a draw would be fantastic. 2-2 at Desmond, like the great Battle of the Bridge in the Pochettino years. I can't see us absolutely shining, I must say. Who knows? Stranger things have happened, and as you say, Chelsea aren't all that at the moment. All they seem to do is sort of buy children and stockpile them. I don't think that Maresca is all that as a manager. They might have too much for us. I could just drone on for hours and hours, actually, and I think just take me away.
All right. Well, look, we'll take that as a defeat. I think we're going to lose it. I think we're going to lose it 2-1. It's funny, actually. You made a good point, Lee. I keep thinking, oh God, we're struggling to score goals. I mean, God, where are the goals coming from? And we are the second highest scorers in the Premier League. So it's kind of an illusion, isn't it, that we don't know how to get the ball in the net, and yet here we are bashing 3 past Everton, 3 past Burnley, 3 past West Ham. So we know how to do it. Look, that's it. We're done.
So I didn't give my
Julie
prediction.
Welch. Oh, hello. Are you still talking? You're talking over my outro.
Yeah, no, sorry, I didn't give my prediction. That's what I was going to say. One thing I just wanted to say, firstly, apparently all the fixtures are automatically generated and randomly generated every frickin' November. We end up with Chelsea. How does that work then? And they always seem to undo us at this point of the year when we've been on a little run. But I'm going to buck the trend here, and I think we're going to do them 3-1.
Okay, well, I'm going to forgive that rudeness and discourtesy of interrupting my outro. Because you're optimistic, so we'll let it go. So look, thanks to Julie Welch and Kevin Acott and the rather rude but optimistic Lee Brown. I just want to say quickly a quick thanks to our musical genius, John Baxter, who put together our theme tune. John is my brother-in-law. He's my sister's partner. He was the lead singer in the band Reflex, who had a hit with the song Politics of Dancing, which I know we're all nodding sagely and thinking, what the fuck was that? But anyway, it was a very good song, which did very well all around the world. So that's John, and thanks to him for doing the Nice One Cyril music. And that's it. We will be back next week for more utter nonsense. Come on, you Spurs.
Nice one, Cyril.